Halloween may be over, but Red Moon still has one last scare for you to end the season. From Edgar Wright, a man no stranger to horror, though his previous outings in the genre were of a comedic kind, comes what has been billed as a psychological horror film that traverses past and present. Written and directed by Wright, Last Night in Soho stars Thomasin McKenzie as Eloise Turner, or Ellie for short, a young woman living in the English countryside with her grandmother. Ellie is obsessed with the music and fashion of the 60s, and aspires to become a fashion designer, the same dream her mother, now deceased, once had. Ellie herself has a sort of sixth sense. Capable of supernatural visions, she often sees the ghost of her mother in her mirror, something her grandmother worries about when Ellie is accepted into the London College of Fashion. Ellie then moves to London, where she soon rents a room in Soho. At night, Ellie begins having dreams of Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, a young woman living during the 60s with dreams of becoming a famous singer who gets tangled up in Soho's red light district. Each night, Ellie dreams of Sandy, and each night she uncovers new horrors, setting Ellie on a course to attempt righting the wrongs of the past. While described as a psychological horror by Edgar Wright, I found Last Night in Soho to be less of an outright horror film and more a thriller. Though some horror aspects are included, don't expect Last Night in Soho to deliver on scares. Instead, the film focuses more on building tension and unease, which better suits its narrative. The film excels in atmosphere, with production design and costuming showcasing both present-day and 1960s-era Soho. Cinematography also accentuates the tension in film and is full of Edgar Wright's flair. The film is visually a brilliant movie. Where Last Night in Soho does fall short of Wright's previous works, however, is in the writing. Last Night in Soho is a well-made thriller with Edgar Wright's style, which alone makes it entertaining. But without Edgar Wright's aesthetic, the movie is more or less a stereotypical thriller. Yes, Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Baby Driver are chock full of Edgar Wright's style. But even without his quirky filmmaking, the stories offer up something outside of stereotypical zombie, comic book, or heist films. The story themselves benefited from Wright's unique vision, not just the visuals. And Last Night in Soho, while beautiful to watch, lacks much of this originality in both its story and character development for most of its supporting cast. It may be Wright's weakest film to date, but it is still visually gorgeous, with a well-made if generic story. Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy give solid performances, with minor standout roles from British legends such as Terence Stamp and the final performance of the ever-great Diana Rigg. I feel there is plenty worth seeing in Last Night in Soho, I just don't think it will stand the test of time in the same way Wright's previous films have, and will. I give Last Night in Soho 3 out of 4 stars.